I can't be the only girl who feels like purchasing nice pajamas is a bit frivolous. I love the idea of going to bed in a matching set, but of all my clothing categories, that's definitely the lowest priority. And yet, I am sick of wearing Adam Sandler outfits to bed. They're getting really bad. So in this video, we are sewing cutie girl pajamas. It's not looking good. I'm breathing like my smoker uncle. Am I making you look at my Notion again for, I don't know, a fourth time? Yes. This is my favorite part, actually, and as a reminder, you could skip ahead. I know I talk too much. I talk way too much. We're doing projects 7 through 9 in this video. We're starting with 7, and it's this 2-piece cherry set. Really cute. I'll link this fabric I found. It's a rib knit with little cherry print. It's very cute and it's very soft. I have high hopes for this one. For the pattern, I'm going to use Coraline Street's Easy Summer Short pattern. You can use any short pattern. I would just omit things like pockets, a fly zip. You don't need all that. Just some basic shorts. You can even trace a pair of your own that you really like the fit of. I've never done that, but there are videos of other people doing it on the internet, and I'm sure you could figure it out. For the top, I found this pattern on Etsy called the Y2K Tank by Transformed by Tracy. For the shorts, I'm sizing up by 2. I want them to be loose and comfortable. Tight bottoms for sleeping is crazy to me. And then I want to do a red lettuce hem for the tank and the shorts because I think that would be really cute to have a little contrast moment. And then also, I'm trying to get better at finishing off knits. I love working with knit, but I just need some better ways of finishing it off so it looks more professional and less homemade, you know what I mean? So anyway, let's cut these out. We're assembling the bust cups before we put all the pieces together for the top, and basically I sewed the dart. The other thing I need to do before we put it all together is finish off this center edge for both of the cups. The other edges I'm going to finish with bias binding, which is what she does in her video. I wanted to do red. I thought red would be really cute to have a little contrasting strip, but I couldn't find a red that matched, so we can't do that. Most people that I have seen will just fold the edge over and then do some type of stretch compatible stitch over that. I have not had any luck doing that because, it works, but to me it looks very homemade. The edge ends up kind of wavy and I don't like how it looks. I've really only been able to use knit if I'm using satin bias binding, but then that doesn't work for everything because satin bias binding doesn't stretch the same way that knit does. So I would like to explore some other options in this video so I have more tools in my tool belt. I saw a girl use some crazy stitch on here. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. But it's the ones that you probably avoid the same way that I avoid because they look intimidating, but I am going to figure it out. She did a scallop edge on her knit fabric and I thought it looked so cute and I want to give it a go. So I'm going to mess around on some scrap fabric, and if I figure it out, I will share with you what I do. So that's what I'll be doing, and we're going to get a cute little scallop edge for these booby pieces. I messed around a little. In order to get this, I'm using this stitch, and then I have my stitch length as low as possible. My tension is at 3, and then my needle position is at 5. So it worked out well. That's what I'll be doing. How stinking cute is that? Get out of here. I forgot to mention I'm using stretchy thread. So someone told me in a video in the comment section that if you use elastic thread, then you don't have to worry about if a stitch is stretch compatible or not. You can just use a straight stitch. So I'm gonna give that a test for this top. I'm only gonna use straight stitches. I mean, I'll finish off the edges with maybe I don't know, a zigzag or overcast stitch or whatever, but all of the main seams will be done with a straight stitch because that would be great to be able to sew knit with a straight stitch. And this thread was a few dollars. It wasn't expensive or anything, so it's a good little hack, I think. But yeah, I'm just gonna get the actual top assembled and then I'll add the bias binding, and I want to finish the bottom with a lettuce hem, which is another cute way of finishing off stretchy fabrics that I'm excited to try. So I want to do that on the bottom of the shirt as well as the hem of the shorts. So we'll figure that out together. We got another day of me feeling really, really unkempt with my natural hair. But if y'all have tips, please give them to me. I'm in this ugly phase of like, I know my hair is wavy. I know that it has a little bit of a pattern there, and I feel like it could look good. But I just don't know how to style it, so it's just frizzy and kind of a mess. Also, my hair is just not used to being natural, so I feel like it needs to be trained a little bit. Y'all don't care. What am I talking about? I finished the top. I did the binding, and I will say in her tutorial, she does the top edge binding and then the strap as two separate pieces, and then it's connected here with a zigzag stitch. And to cover that ugly seam up in the raw edge, she puts a little lace applique on top, which you could have fun with if you're doing something with lace. She did the bust cups out of lace. I can't do that. I'm on YouTube. I'll get demonetized. But that could be cute. You could also do it like she did and cover it up with maybe a little ribbon bow. I think that could be cute too. What I ended up doing was just an extra long piece of bias binding, and I carried it along all the way to the back. So it's just one big piece, and I attached it at the back. Could be a nicer finish, but here we are. I don't know if I mentioned, but the plan was to do a little lettuce hem at the bottom of the shirt and the bottom of the shorts. I did a little practice piece on some scrap fabric, and I think it came out really cute. I would probably do another pass over just to completely cover all of the white fabric that's kind of popping out, if you can see that. I don't love that. The thing is, this is kind of stiff, and I feel like it will be pretty uncomfortable. It's a little itchy, and I just know myself, I'm not gonna like that. So I ended up doing the little scallop that I did for the bust cup along the bottom, and it came out okay. It's a little wavy. I did some research, and apparently that's due to the fact that my presser foot can't be adjusted. So some presser foots can be adjusted to where they're not smashing down the fabric. And with knit, that creates a little bit of an extra pull, and that makes it wavy. So if I had a machine that would allow me to raise the presser foot slightly, I would do that, and I think it would come out a little bit better. Anyway, here we are. So because the lettuce hem, we're abandoning that idea, I think for the shorts, I will do a bloomer style short for the bottom. And I have done that once before. I'll kind of walk you through how I do that, but I kind of started assembling the shorts. This is just, I mean, they look ginormous for me, but but with obviously with the elastic waistband, it'll scrunch everything together. So I'm gonna finish this side seam, and then I'll show you how to turn these, or really any short pattern, into something like a bloomer look with just some elastic and a couple extra seams. It's really not that hard. I gotta say, I'm really overworking with knit right now. I can't tell you how many times I had to seam rip, and the elastic thread was a good idea, but I think I need more practice with it, or need to do some more research on I was gonna say camera settings, the machine settings. the stretched thread is not working for me. There's a fly in this room, and I feel bad killing bugs. I just do. And so I've had the window open trying to let him out, and it's just not, let me finish this. So what I did to make these more bloomer style is I folded the leg hole down by 4 centimeters all the way around, pinned it, and then I sewed with a zigzag stitch about 3/4 of an inch away from the fold line. Then you're going to do a second seam, and this one I did about 1/4 of an inch away from the first seam. This one you don't sew all the way up though, so make sure that you leave yourself about 2 inches so that you can feed your elastic through. And once you thread your elastic through, you can join it with a zigzag stitch and then sew up that opening. This is what they look like. They're so cute. I went ahead and did the exact same process for the waistband. I thought it would be cute to have this little ruffle at the top. I also, along the fold line, did do that scallop seam, but it kind of gets lost with all the gathering, but that's okay. I will say these are pretty short, and that's because I went from not needing any hem allowance because I was doing a lettuce hem to folding it down by 4 centimeters. So that took off quite a bit of length. If you plan on doing this, plan ahead and add some extra length when you're cutting out your pieces. This set is done. Very happy with it. Let me show you what it looks like. The next set is the one I'm most excited about, and I've had it pinned on my Pinterest for a long time. I nicknamed it the Pearl Set. This is the vibe, okay. Mainly it's this one on the far right. I found the perfect fabric for this. It's an ivory satin. For the shorts, I'm just going to go basic. I think what really makes this one special is the pretty fabric and then also the top. So I'm going to use the same pattern I did for the last set, and I'll just tweak it slightly so it looks a little bit more like these inspo photos. And then the top seems simple enough. I think I can self-draft it, so that's the plan at the moment. I'm new to working with satin and those silkier fabrics, so I did some research, and if you're new to working with satin too, this is what I found. So sizing down the needle is recommended, using a shorter stitch length, using extra fine pins because regular size pins can leave larger holes in your final product, using a lower tension. Usually satin is finished off with what's called a baby hem. And then if cutting it out is difficult because it's a slippery fabric, it can be tough to cut out, people recommend using tissue paper layered on the fabric because it makes it easier to cut. So those are the tips that I will be using for myself, and if you're new to slippery, silky satin fabrics, hopefully that helps you too. Yeah, let's get started on the bottoms. I've barely started and I've already made a mistake. It's not really that big of a deal. It's just I wanted to tweak this pattern a little bit to make it look hopefully a little bit more like the inspiration photos we were looking at. And one of the things I had in mind to do was to angle the outer seam on all of the pieces a little bit so that the shorts would flare out at the bottom a bit more than they're intended to, and I think that would make it look a little bit more like the original, and I just forgot to do that. However, I did size up 2, so I'm using the medium, and fingers crossed, I hope that will be enough extra fabric to still have them feel a little bit more flowy and gathered at the waist. I also want to note that if you plan on sizing up, it made it so that the pieces were very high-waisted on me, like way too high-waisted, so I ended up, I really wanted the extra fabric to just be on the width so that they were more flowy. I didn't need it to be higher, so I did, I guess, the opposite of a slash and spread, which I don't know if there's a word for that. Slash and squeeze. I basically cut the pattern in half, and then I overlapped the pieces to where it would be a good height for me. I hope that makes sense. I don't know what I'm talking about. Please don't take my instructions too seriously, please. I kind of feel like I shouldn't be giving any advice because I'm learning as I go, but I don't know. I think it's fun to learn alongside you guys, and I am learning a ton from the comments. So if you are new to sewing and you need resources, actually just look through the comments of my videos because people tell me what I did wrong or tell me, a better way to do something all of the time, and it's very helpful. Very helpful. Okie dokie, we are pinned and ready to go. I'm doing wrong sides together because I want to do French seams on these because they're pretty and I think it'll be more comfortable for pajamas to have the raw edge, covered. So I will be doing French seams on these shorts. Let's get started. I'm trying to line these up and I feel like I'm going insane. I really feel like I'm going crazy. I think I must have messed up the grain line or something or maybe I handled them after cutting them too much, which I don't remember doing, but maybe I did. Whatever. These are messed up. I think I'm gonna have to trim them a little bit so that they match better. So not off to a great start, but that's okay, that's okay. I really do feel like I'm going crazy right now, trying to get these pieces to align. It's not looking good. You know what? Whatever, dude. Whatever, who cares? They're pajamas. All right, I'm actually almost done with the assembly. Surprisingly, everything lined up pretty well. I didn't cut out new pieces. I was just like, let's see how this goes. And yeah, it worked out. So I don't know, take that for what it's worth. You can see there's some gathering in that center seam and on the back as well. This is just something that I just need practice with silky fabrics, and I'm glad I'm doing this with something that's a little bit more low stakes, like pajamas, instead of a dress. I do want to buy this fabric again because I just think it's so beautiful, but it is a little bit of a headache to work with. Especially since I'm doing French seams, that just adds like a whole nother layer of annoying steps and attention to detail that's needed. I will quickly do the elastic waistband off camera and then we'll hem them together. I'm so nervous for the hem because with satins you do something called a baby hem, which I've never done before. It's a very dainty, delicate, thin hem, and I just feel like it's gonna be hard. This pattern, by the way, you could totally do it as a beginner. Don't use silky fabric. If you do it in a cotton, you can definitely do this one, and you could probably complete it in a day. So don't let my complaining scare you off from this pattern. It's not the pattern itself, it's just the fabric I'm using and the fact that I'm doing French seams. So anyway, let me get the elastic waistband in. I'll try them on and see if I need to shorten them at all, and then we'll hem them. Wish me luck. The shorts are done. I know I said I would check in for the hem, but I got too nervous to do it on camera. I needed privacy. I will link the tutorial that I use. There's still some threads on here. There's threads all over me, but I'll link the tutorial I used because it was very short, to the point, and informative, easy to follow, and you don't need a rolled hem foot to do it. I was scared for no reason. That was totally fine. I will say, I wish that the shorts were a little bit more flared. I also did them a bit longer just because, I don't know what YouTube's policy is on pajamas. These are borderline lacy under things, and, I don't want to get demonetized, so they're kind of long, not as flared as I wanted them to be, but that's okay. If you want the waistband to look exactly like those inspo photos, I used 1-inch elastic because that's kind of just what I had. The waistband on those look a little bit thicker, maybe 1.5 inches. Also, if you want to get that rouging across the waistband, you would basically stretch the elastic and sew some parallel stitches through the elastic all the way around, and that'll give it that ruched effect. I want to be done with those though, and I don't think that's necessary, so we're gonna move on to the top. I think that top in the inspo photo would be very easy to recreate without a pattern. You would basically just take your kind of armpit to armpit and then underbust to underbust measurement, and I would probably do it times 1.5 so that you get a little bit of extra room for the rouging. You probably do a little bit of a baby hem on the top and the bottom, and then just some elastic along the top and the bottom so that it can rouge up and scrunch up cute. And then for the ties, I would just do some really long triangles and then add some straps. So that seems easy enough to recreate. I think you can do it. I found a much cuter pattern and I'm very excited to show it to you. I couldn't find lace that I felt would be soft enough to want to sleep in, so my plan is to do it just plain without any lace, and I'm going to need to line it so that the edges are finished nicely, because the original is just the raw hem and you place the lace on top of it. So in order for me to have nice finished edges, I would need to line it. I had to cut it out a little bit differently in order for that to work. I just needed to add seam allowance in certain areas. I'm going to show you on the paper pattern, so everything that's highlighted pink is where I added a 1/2 inch or maybe a centimeter, I don't know, choose your own adventure there, but you know, armpit area, this is down at the bottom and the center seam, and then this is the back piece, and I just added seam allowance on the top and the bottom. So I cut out double of everything, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay, I just finished up the side seams and we're basically done. I didn't realize that the pattern doesn't come with pieces for the straps or for the front tie, so you will just have to freestyle that, which I'll do really quickly and then just skip ahead to the reveal. I wish I had thought about that earlier though, because I could have sandwiched the straps between the lining and the shell on, the back and then at the top of the bust cups. It's fine, these are just pajamas. I'm not gonna take the whole thing apart just to do that, but if you're lining it, I suggest you do that. Overall, this was a really quick one and I enjoyed it. I think it looks really, really cute. So that's that. Let's see how it ended up looking. Actually don't have a plan for this one at the moment. I'm hoping that by the time I get to this last project, I have more of a plan, but I at least want to show you the inspo photos. So that's the mood board, just a little comfy nightgown with some cute fabric, and that's all I got so far. So hopefully the next clip is me having a plan. Chase the shadows away. Okay. I look like Mia Thermopolis before her glow up. That's what I look like today. I was hoping that inspiration would strike by this point, and it still hasn't. I still don't really know what to do with this fabric. I haven't found a pattern that would work. Etsy has some good nightgown patterns, but they're more for that simple satin slip dress style nightgown, not really for a knit fabric. No luck there, but I did about 3 minutes ago find a YouTube tutorial that I will likely be following loosely. I'll be making my own changes, but this is it, and it's by Soho Seamstress, and She starts by draping it on a mannequin, which I don't own, so I will be draping it on myself. So let's do that. I won't be able to talk through this because the fabric's going to be rubbing all up against the microphone. But she folds a little over so that the bust is double layered. And then, you know, does a little something like this. Oh. I'm breathing like my smoker uncle. This is gonna come out horrible. I might just, I'm gonna grab one of my bodycon dresses and I'm just going to make a tube shape. That's what I'm going to do. And that'll be a little easier than this. You can freestyle a tube shape. You know, it's knit fabric, which is forgiving in terms of sizing and basically this, she just creates a long tube top, basically. And then it flares out a little bit at the hip so that it's not like a bodycon nightgown. That would be uncomfortable, so. Plan B. Remember how I said that I would add extra ease so that it's not as tight as the guide dress? Well, I forgot to do that. So by the second panel, I realized, and I did add about an inch all the way down. The top, I added about 5 inches of height so that I would have extra fabric to fold down so that the bust is double layered. Then I just pinned and sewed all the way down the side seams, and this is what it looks like. Luckily, this fabric isn't too clingy, so it's actually still pretty comfortable, but I would prefer to have it a little bit looser, but here we are. Where this bust piece is folded down, I think you can see it. I hope you can. She adds a strip of picot elastic all the way around. I had already purchased this because I was doing research on finishing knits, and that's a popular way to do it for undergarments and sleepwear, so I'm excited to give that a try. Basically, she just sews all the way around, and you want to make sure that you're getting both layers of fabric. Once I do that, I want to add a little gather stitch here. I just think that would be cute. I don't know. And then we'll figure out the straps. In her video, she uses the picot elastic for the straps. I don't know if I want to do that. Maybe we'll do some experimenting, I don't know. But I'm gonna add that elastic all the way around and we'll check in. Girl, yes, this is where we're at. I did that center gathering thing. I tried to film it, but my camera SD card ran out of storage and I wasn't actually filming. I also attached the picot elastic for the straps. I was gonna make actual straps out of the fabric, but I am feeling a little bit lazy and I think this is very cute. The only thing is, you know, there's a little seam here where it's attached. So we're gonna do some bows. Yes, and then in the middle, yes. I have a daintier one too. I'm kind of torn. I don't know if I should do this chunkier one or the daintier one. Whatever. I'll do both. And then now all that's left to do is hem it. I'm doing a lettuce hem. I know I said that it would be too scratchy for pajamas on the first project, and it would have been too scratchy to do it on the first project because your inner thigh is just too sensitive to have that much stiff bulkiness rubbing up against it. I don't think I would like that. But I think this dress is long enough and loose enough that a lettuce hem would be tolerable. So let's get going on that.